Okay, Matt, so this week's episode of Silence of the Lambs.
So yeah, as we said, it came out on February the 14th, 1991.
Okay.
It did. It's 118 minutes long, so...
2 hours,
just 2 hours.
That'll do.
Yeah, 2 hours.
We'll have that.
Yeah.
And it doesn't... It uses those 2 hours.
Uses those 2 hours,
Yeah.
and it deserves 2 hours.
100%.
Good length.
Good length.
Good
Perfect.
length.
We'll have that.
How good is it to say that rather than just...
I breathe a sigh of relief.
I know, just to say you earned all 2 hours of that.
Rare.
Yeah, so its budget, how much money did it cost? It cost $19 million.
Modest.
Modest budget.
Really modest.
Very modest budget. It made overall $272.7 million US.
Big money.
Wow.
Again.
Yeah, well, yeah, it's a huge hit, really, in terms of...
Worldwide?
Yeah. So we were a big hit for its studio. Well, Orion Pictures.
Made some good films, Orion Pictures. RoboCop, the first thing that comes to mind.
Parent company, MGM. People will look at the film and they'll see the lion and they'll think MGM. MGM, not parent company. But yeah, Orion
made
Pictures.
Some really good films.
So good. It made a big hit for him.
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah.
With this film. Yeah, and this film. You've all heard of it, guys. It's not like we're not we're talking about a well-known film. So well known. It got many accolades. Many accolades at the 1992 Oscars, which, let's be honest, that's all we're going to delve into here. But it won, not merely nominated, but won Best Picture, Best Director, Best Actor, and Best Actress. And Best Screenplay. So it won the 5
major ones.
The big 5. I was saying in the car. One of only 3 films that has done so, and in very half-assed Mark and his research fashion, I haven't found out what those other 2 films were. Well, yeah, I know, but like there is a pattern emerging of
disappointment.
Yeah.
I'm used to that.
But people will come to like and appreciate that. These are seeds which our audience can go and look up for themselves.
So we seem to criticise films for that, but you can happily...
Oh yeah, I'm not saying I'm going to judge you get this lot by my own standards of what I put out. But, you know. But yeah, so it won... It won all 5 of the major ones. It was also nominated for Best Editing and Best Sound. Okay. And didn't win.
Well, that's fair enough. I'll take the ones that it did win. But if I was them.
Yeah, exactly.
So big prestige there, mate, isn't there?
Yeah, and so... Yeah, Anthony Hopkins won Best Actor. Yeah. Jodie Foster won Best Actress.
Yeah. Jonathan Demme, the director, won Best Director.
We'll come on to the cast in a moment, but
fair play.
Yeah, fair play. So who are they?
So it was directed by Jonathan Demme, who directed a film called Philadelphia, which is
we're going to say Tom Hanks, isn't it?
It's Tom Hanks and Denzel Washington.
Yeah,
and he's like partners, and he gets AIDS.
Yeah, he's dying of AIDS, and Denzel Washington is like his lawyer. Because he's trying to get something, but can't remember what. Yeah, and he has to defend him in court, and we're all during the AIDS crisis and stuff like that. Very well regarded film is that film.
And he directed the Manchurian Candidate remake. I think that starred Denzel Washington as well. I'm not seeing it. So he's not a prolific director by any stretch. So the film
I only know those 2 things that Philadelphia and the.
He's done a few other things, but nothing like people would really go, oh, I know.
But that's the thing. I didn't know any of the others. I was like, nope, not seen it.
Produced by a trio of guys. One Kenneth Utz, the next Edward Saxon, and another guy called Ron Bozeman. Now they seem to produce. They all produced Silence of the Lambs and Philadelphia together, and it seems to be they produced, or it was a group of producers that produced a series of films. None of note apart from Philadelphia and this. And obviously, like you say, Orion Pictures and MGM distributed the film. Written by a guy called Ted Talley. Now, he wrote Mission to Mars, which is a bit of a shit sci-fi film. Shrek 2.
Oh, okay.
Hello. And Red Dragon. We'll get on to that. So Red Dragon is linked in with this. It's basically
we'll just
remake.
Say the prequel.
The prequel, basically, for Silence of the Lambs. So we'll get on to that later. The score was by Howard Shore. Now, really, really, really famous composer. Score composer. Did Mrs. Doubtfire. Come on.
Oh, so we have come across him before? I didn't put 2 and 2 together.
Mrs. Doubtfire. Philadelphia.
Yeah.
And Lord of the Rings trilogy.
Well, yeah.
So... big prestige, and
I have to say, because we have a tendency on this show to not swerve the score, but not give his opinion muddle our opinion on the score, or forget to give it
on the score. I thought we talk about it pretty much every episode.
No, we made a point to the last one. We've occasionally gone, oh, we didn't really mention.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean?
Shows, yeah.
You know what I mean? I like the score. In this, I'm sure we'll get into why, but I like it.
You know, the score's really good. So let's talk about the cast.
Yeah.
Jodie Foster plays Clarice Starling. She's our main character, basically.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, okay, in this,
best actress.
Wow. What a performance!
Yeah.
In this.
For me, excellent.
It's one of. Let's just say, and we'll come on to it when we're discussing what we really liked and what we didn't like. But all I'll say now, she absolutely earns every minute of that 100%. For that Oscar. She 100%. Works for it.
Both leads do.
Yeah,
both. But we'll get on to that.
Yeah. So who's our other lead? As if the people won't know. Inform the people who plays Hannibal Lecter.
So Hannibal Lecter was played by Anthony Hopkins.
No way. Anthony Hopkins.
Yeah, the Welsh
in
actor.
Silence at Lambs. Yeah. Never.
Yeah. Yeah, he's been in Elephant Man, another famous film. Well, David Lynch.
Yeah, that was the reason that they wanted him, because they'd seen him in The Elephant Man.
He was in Bram Stoker's Dracula by Francis Ford Coppola.
He plays Van Helsing in that.
Yeah. And obviously he was in the sequel Hannibal, which we'll get onto later.
Yeah.
So another actor called Scott Glenn as Jack Crawford, which is like... he's Clarice Starling's gaffer, basically. He's the boss who runs the behavioural science unit that she's training to be part of.
Yeah.
He's been in Backdraft, Training Day, and he was also in the Marvel Daredevil TV show Stick, which is the guy
I've still never watched it.
Really good.
Really good.
Really good, mate.
Do you know, you're
really
not the first person to tell me that the Daredevil
Those
TV
Netflix
show
Marvel things are not bad at all. I mean, Iron Fist and... Luke Cage are not as good as Jessica Jones and Daredevil, but Daredevil and Jessica Jones, decent, So we get on to another actor called Ted Levine. He plays Buffalo Bill, who's our serial killer in the film, which he's trying to catch.
He's actually the main antagonist, really. I suppose.
Yeah. He was in Heat, a famous Michael Mann film, the crime film. He was in Flubber.
Oh yeah,
the remake with Robin Williams.
With Robin Williams,
and he was in Wild Wild West with Will Smith. And Kevin Kline in that as well. And then, kind of to round off our main cast, Anthony Hedder's Dr. Chilton, who's a fucking weasel. Got a lot to say. About
I hate this character. You meant to.
Yeah, you are.
You meant to.
And he was in Pelican Brief, Deep Rising, which is that monstery film. I quite like that. Check this out as well. Here's an interesting fact. He was in Red Dragon as the same fucking character.
What? Like it's a prequel to this film?
Yeah.
Like
he's got another film out of that character.
Yeah.
I thought that was quite a fun fact.
Yeah, well, I suppose
I'm like, he plays the same character.
Yeah.
The same actor, the same character in the prequel, but made 10 years later.
But yeah, I have to say, because we're good. I like that actor. Fucking hate the character,
we'll get into that.
He plays it well.
Yeah, he does.
He's perfect.
Yeah,
the how he plays it. The cast are fantastic.
Great.
I can't just as a whole. Even all the supporting cast as well. Really good.
Yeah. Like
really,
his
really
handler,
good.
the black guy, the black actor.
Yeah, plays Barney.
Barney, that's his name. Yeah, he's quite... And he's in Hannibal as well, he's in the sequel.
Yeah.
She goes and buys his mask, he's got his mask, we'll get onto that.
Yeah.
So, Matt, do you want to give us some facts and figures about the film?
Well, yeah, so...
Based on a book.
Yes, it is based on a book.
By Thomas Harris, that come out in 1988, so a few years prior.
Yeah, not actually as many years as you normally think a film's going to be. It's relatively recently after it.
Yeah, it was, you think. Yeah.
You know what I mean? And the screenwriters for this, some of them, this had been in production before the actual film came out. The book came out, like, really early stages.
Okay.
So they've got an advanced copy.
Essentially
nice. Of it.
Yeah.
So they knew they were going to make a film at some point about.
So that the option, the rights, basically.
Yeah,
to the
basically. Sean Connery was initially. He was slated to play Hannibal.
Not the right guy.
No, absolutely not the right guy.
Actor.
Different film altogether,
100%.
and he wouldn't have. I can't see Connery ever pulling it
No
off.
chance.
I love Sean Connery.
Who doesn't?
I know.
God bless him.
But no, Sean. No.
Apparently, he did read the script and he was disgusted.
He was like way too dark.
Yeah.
I can't. Well, it was genuinely like, no, absolutely not. Dead set against it.
Did you know Michelle Pfeiffer was originally going to play Clarice?
She was. I mean, it'd have been. Right, Jodie Foster's so iconic and that I can't imagine anyone else playing her. Well, in this film. We'll get on to who plays her later. But I rate Michelle Pfeiffer. I like Michelle Pfeiffer. So I'm not really sure she'd have made a shit film if it were her. But it'd have been different.
It would have been.
It'd been a different film.
I think Jodie Foster brings something to the role.
Yeah. Fun one. Anthony Hopkins was offered the role based on his performance in The Elephant Man, but his agent first said to him, "Do you want to be in this film, Silence of the Lambs?" And just from the title, he went, is it a kid's book or something?"
Shut up.
And then he read, he'd go, "Is it a kid's film or something?"
Okay.
From the title, The Silence of the Lambs. And he was like, "What, is it a kid's film or something like that?" And he read it and go, what did he say? "This is the best part I've ever read."
Wow.
Yeah, that's apparently what he said.
Okay.
Anthony Hopkins called his agent back after reading the first 10 pages and was like, "This is the best part that I've ever read for."
Sure.
So
that's interesting.
So
in itself.
he were into it. Might have been like a second choice for him, but Anthony Hopkins, he was the only real choice. Let's be honest, because it couldn't have been Connery, could it?
Not
really?
a chance.
But yeah. Others considered for the role were Al Pacino.
No.
Robert De Niro.
No.
Dustin Hoffman.
Oh, they're going through the phone book now.
Yeah, Derek Jacobi.
The English actor? Who's in Claudius?
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, I reckon he could probably pull it off, but he'd be much camper. But I reckon he could
see without a bowl haircut though. From the fucking BBC.
And he's in Gladiator as well.
Is he?
He's in Gladiator.
I don't know.
Yeah. But I could see him doing it, but again, it'd be different. Totally different. And Daniel Day-Lewis, they asked to play it.
Oh yeah, I read that.
Yeah.
I read that as well.
All of them just said no. Most of them with the words, "It's far too dark."
It is.
And let's be honest, it's a very dark film.
Yeah. So talking about being a dark film, should we go into the synopsis?
Yes, I think we best do.
So, if someone says to you, Mark, how would you describe Silence of the Lambs? I'd say it stars Jodie Foster as Clarice Starling, a young FBI trainee who is hunting a serial killer called Buffalo Bill. Mm-hmm. He skins his female victims. That's his kind of fucking MO.
Yeah, his MO.
So to try and catch him, she seeks the advice of the imprisoned Dr. Hannibal Lecter, a brilliant psychiatrist, but also a cannibalistic serial killer.
Yeah, a terrifying cannibal serial killer. Oh. Yeah.
And that is the film in a nutshell. Yeah. So let's go on the ride and discuss.
So
let's discuss it.
First of all, I think it has to be acknowledged right from the off that this is an iconic film.
100%.
Do you know what I mean? Like, for one, I don't know anyone who hasn't seen this film. Anybody at all. I'm sure you exist out there.
Listeners, if you've not
if
seen
you have not seen if you've not seen this film,
it's on Amazon.
Yeah, it'll be everywhere. Realistically, you'll not struggle to find the film.
No, I mean to stream. It's on Amazon to stream.
I think that has to be thrown there right from the off. It's iconic, even if you don't like it for some reason.
Crazy
giving stuff away there, but even if you don't rate it, you know about this film. You know about this film. You know the Hello Clarice kind of, and the thing, you know, that Hannibal does.
Yeah. Again, I mean, you know, impacts and stuff, and cultural impacts and legacy.
Yeah,
is something we can.
I know. But we talk about it later on. But I feel like with this, just
I agree,
at the top of the show, iconic.
Yes,
we'll discuss whether it's iconic for a good or bad reason, but it is iconic.
It is, 100%, most definitely.
And so, yeah. To you, why do you think it is so iconic? And does it warrant that iconicness?
I 100% agree that it does.
Yeah,
I think it definitely deserves to be put on a mantle and admired and respected and watched and appreciated. I think not just because of the performance of the cast. I think it's probably the right film at the right time in the beginning of the 90s, and maybe had an impact in terms of it seems to have spawned a mini genre of its own in terms of police procedural serial killer films. Most definitely. Again, the next iconic one on the list for me would have to be Seven.
Well, yeah,
in terms of subject matter,
and I've got Seven, in a way, kind of reminds me of Silence of the Lambs. Not that they're necessarily tonally similar, although they are in some ways.
It's subject matter more than anything.
It is subject matter more than anything, but it has a similar pacing to it. Here's one thing about this film: it's well paced film.
I think so. And again, 2 hours. It is no.
We weren't. Because again, our listeners, I think they're getting a good idea of what we really like, and what we really like a film where it's what length it is, and do they use all of that time effectively? And I think this film absolutely does.
It really does.
It uses all of its time brilliantly.
Agreed.
I mean,
it doesn't waste anything, and I don't think there's any bits that are unnecessary. Everything is serving its purpose.
Every scene is either planting something to be paid off later, and all those payoffs are paid off.
Yeah, they are.
Right? Or it's a little bit that moves the plot forward, or it's a character piece that
That's
explains...
why it won the Oscar for screenplay, I think.
Yeah, because a screenwriter would look at that and be like, oh my god, they've done everything perfectly. It builds. It knows when to let you to rest as well. And it knows when to really hit you with the hard stuff. Everything's earned. And I think the linking for that is like how good the acting is. They all lend into it. It's just brilliantly paced film.
It's a really, really good pace. Really, really good. And the cast, you know, Anthony Hopkins and Jodie Foster, they absolutely smash it out of the park for me. And I think in the role of Clarice Starling, and I think she shows vulnerability. She's clearly damaged. You know, she's very introverted.
Mate, this is a masterclass of a piece of character acting. Is this from her? We'll put Anthony Hopkins aside for a moment,
talk about
because Anthony Hopkins is established character actor by that point.
Yeah.
She'd been around for a long while. She'd been a child actor.
Yeah.
I remember seeing her in, but I wasn't alive, but she was in Bugsy Malone. Like, as a little kid, her name was Tallulah. But so she'd been in lots of things, but this is her moment, and what a great piece of character acting that she's got. So many
A-list,
so many just wonderful little character moments. That voice, perfect, absolutely perfect. She sinks into that voice. That southern
my mama and my daddy,
sir.
Yeah.
And she's brilliantly polite. She's very professional. She's very professional and very, very proper, but very human.
Well, this is this vulnerability because Jack leads her down. Jack uses her as a tool to get what he wants out of Lecter.
This is a depiction of a real professional woman. She's not hyper competent. She's competent and she's learning and she's clever.
I agree.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
there's nothing false about it. So many. I'm gonna risk a Twitter mob.
Oh.
So many things which are shown as like strong female characters aren't actually strong female characters. They're just
it's falsified.
It's a look how strong she is, even though it's in the context and doesn't work. And she's a real woman, is Clarice Starling.
And do you know why?
She folds into the role and projects it out.
And do you know why? Another note on that, the way she portrays that character, I thought, more than anything, for me, again, seeing the film and the arc of that character in the film, for me, to sum that character, I would say she shows strength in vulnerability.
Yeah. Absolutely. And this is real strength. Is
exactly.
Because she's mentally strong, she's clever, because she's got to keep up with.
But she's scared, like, what am I getting into, and inquisitive, and...
Yeah. She's just... It's such a good character, and you're with her all the way.
100%.
Come on, Clarice, figure it out. And you know she will. Because that's a clever character, is that. Right from the off, when he summons her to his office to give her the assignment of, right, you need to talk to Hannibal. At first, he doesn't say why.
Yeah.
She's the one who intuits. Might this have something to do with the Buffalo Bill case? And he's like, no, I wish it
just
was, darling. But she's the one who suspects.
Yeah.
And a bit later, she calls him out on it, like you could have just said, because she'd already figured it out. You know what I mean? That they wanted Hannibal Lecter's character to shed insight on Buffalo Bill's character so they could catch him.
Yeah.
And so she's a brilliant leading lady, but she bounces off and she keeps up with this man, Anthony Hopkins.
Here we go.
As Hannibal Lecter. Again, absolutely iconic. Who doesn't know about Hannibal Lecter as Hannibal? You know what I mean?
Nobody. It's synonymous, isn't it?
It's synonymous with the part so much. I don't think until Anthony Hopkins is literally dead, they would ever cast. Well, they have done. I know, but for the TV show, but in a big film.
You can't follow that.
You can't follow that
because he can't follow that. That's all she wrote. Bang there. Yeah.
This is a masterclass of in a way, this character on screen is terrifying, really. Did you know Jodie Foster said that? I was terrified.
I'm not surprised.
I was terrified of him on set.
I've got, in the character notes I've wrote, he portrays this guy as sinister, menacing, every single second.
Do you know what's worrying about it? Likeable.
I know.
Do you know why? Likeable, charismatic, clever, intelligent, witty. Do you know what I mean?
Dirty.
That's
Have you noticed that? It wasn't until I watched it again for the show that he's dirty.
Yeah.
He's smell you cunt, and I can smell you. And when he fucking He asks her about the breastfeeding when he gets transferred to the other gaff.
Yeah.
Like the senator, he's like, oh, your breast milk, and like, can you still feel your daughter?
Playful. He's playful, and he toys with people, and you know it only adds to his pure presence and his menace at every point. He's genuinely menacing.
Yeah,
but you kind of find yourself rooting for him in a perverse way.
And I think that's because you're drawn in via the Jodie Foster character, Clarice.
She's our stand-in. She's our audience stand-in to go looking into his world, essentially. But again, that's why she's so good in it. She doesn't just disappear into a nothing burger of a character, because so many audience stand-in characters are the weakest part of the film. That's not what Jodie Foster is.
Not at all.
She's one of two absolutely tour de fucking forces that push this film forward.
And those scenes of them together, mate. There's some of
the best scenes of dialogue between two characters that I've literally ever seen.
Yeah.
Ever seen or heard as well.
Again, the screenplay.
Yeah.
And the right characters in the right part, the right actor. Look what you can get going.
Yeah, exactly. And here's the thing, she had lobbied for this part. She wrote to the studio and was like, I want to play Clarice, I want to do that. And they toyed about with Michelle Pfeiffer and and several other people. And you're just like, oh yeah, and Meg Ryan, they toyed with Meg Ryan.
Oh no.
And I was like, the rom-com girl.
Oh no.
Grow up, move on. Like, you know what I mean? No.
Please no.
But,
got it right.
Yeah, oh yeah, absolutely. But I tell you what else adds to this film. The sense of how closed in the close-ups.
Again, you know, the way the film is shot, it's very intimate, but it's the right way for this film for me.
It's great, mate. There are some shots which are genuinely
just heads,
just a head, but kind of haunting. Like the way when that shot when she finally explains what the title essentially is, what the Silence of the Lambs is. That. And
she tells Hannibal the story.
Yeah, and to get he was like, and will you wake up one night no longer hearing the awful screaming of the lambs? That moment, that shot where it's just like from here in his eyes, but he's illuminated from the back, and you're like, that's genuinely terrifying shot. That
when he's in the cage,
and he's got this glare. Wow, Anthony Hopkins, the face work in this film. That's another the face work of. Proper facial acting. There's one where Jodie Foster, she's finally got into Buffalo Bill's house and she's coming down the stairs and she's pulling a ridiculous face of like, and the jaws are off to one side, and you're like, props to her for actually pulling a genuine human face, what your face would look like. She is shitting herself, and on screen that face is shitting herself.
Mate,
wow.
I'm not to get ahead of myself, but those last 20 minutes.
Wow. And do you know people at the time that at the last 20 minutes were saying that what weakest part of the film? Genuinely, I watched it.
Oh, they're wrong.
I watched it. You know, silly old Siskel and Ebert. One of them did. Roger Ebert didn't hate it. He was like, no, quite rate it. Gene Siskel.
Not bad.
Yeah.
Like, oh no.
These were the big names at the time of
movie reviews.
Yeah, of quick movie reviews like that. He hated it. He slated it, and I'm like, mate, what are you talking about? What film were you watching? What were you watching?
Not this.
Not this film. I'm surprised
that
the other one sat on settee with him weren't like, are you watching the same film?
They watched it together?
They watched it together, and it was like, is this the same film? Anyway. Yeah. That's another thing about its pacing now of those last 20 minutes. It's earned. Because it builds.
It builds and builds. And she goes around
Suspense
the house.
Yeah. And
brilliant.
It's one of those plots where it takes you with it. Like Anthony Hopkins and Jodie Foster, their scenes explain what Starling is of Jodie Foster's character.
Yeah.
Inform what she's going to do next, where she uncovers the next part of the mystery of who. Oh, well, not the mystery, but the identity of Buffalo Bill. And so everything leads you, it takes the audience with you at all points. It's another one of the... We were on about the Batman earlier. Yeah. No plants that aren't paid off.
Yeah.
They plant a seed in this film. Well, yeah, Anthony Hopkins, he's very much...
Well, the thing is, Hannibal, he knows who he is from the get-go.
He knows who he is, and that's another thing, the playfulness of Anthony Hopkins.
Exactly. You're playing a game, that's what I put gameplay, and that's what he's doing with her.
He is playing with the game. He's testing her. He is testing her a lot of the times. He wants to see how clever she is. He likes that.
I think as well, by the end of the film, they have built a relationship of some sort. So I think there's
definite chemistry, and there is, and he's played on like right at the end where he rings her, he phones her. And,
I'm having a friend for dinner.
Yeah,
you know what it is?
A friend for dinner.
Do you know who it is? Don't you? Dr. Chillout. He's gonna eat him.
Oh, here's another thing.
Go on.
The other characters in it, and this is an intentional point, but the other characters, but especially the Doctor is... What a cunt. There's no other word for him. Chilton.
Oh, cunt.
What an absolute cunt. Starling has
really
just tried to like make Hannibal an offer to help the situation, and he basically reveals that the FBI were lying to him just because it'd make him feel good, and sorted out his own deal. Basically, he's the only reason that the cunt gets away in the first place.
Right, and do you know why? Right. Why my thing about this character is, mate, right? He and this character's been portrayed in the TV series as well as other films like Red Dragon, and for me, he sees Hannibal as a prize and a way of him getting recognition. Like I've got,
it's a status symbol.
He treats him like a trophy.
Yeah, and here's the thing, Hannibal, and this is why he's so relatable and therefore vaguely terrifying, is he likes people who treat him like people with courtesy and respect. If you not so much respect,
but then he tears up those two coppers.
But they actually say
necessity. You be nice with us.
Yeah, but nice they're necessity killings. That's the thing. He's trying to escape.
Yeah, okay.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, alright.
Here's the thing, I'm defending a literal fucking cannibal here, but even brutal scene, again, absolutely terrifying, adding to the menace of Hannibal. But you root for him so much, you even find yourself, as I just did, but he needed to do that to get out. And you're like, what the fuck?
Well,
he's a literal guy, and he kills one brutally. He does the Viking, like...
Yeah. And then pretends he's the copper?
And cuts one of them's face up. Oh, it's horrible. But again, brilliantly shot. The brilliance of just having Anthony Hopkins there with his crazy face covered in blood, basically beating someone to death, splattering wow, fucking hell. Brutal.
It is a brutal scene, that. Again, these many, for me, the list of my favourite scenes are the garage scene where where the investigation really starts, where she finds the head in the jar and realises it was an ex-patient of Lecter's killed by fucking Bill. The body examining scene where she finds the little bug, the chrysalis in the... I thought that was really good. She plays that well, whereas in that scene in particular, I think it shows the art. There's such a big arc in that tiny scene of that character because she can't look and she's got tears in her eyes.
No, I know.
And she's like, what? And you can see she doesn't really know what that stuff is. They put it underneath the nose. It's so they don't smell.
It's so they don't smell.
And she's like, body. Oh, I better do what they're doing. And then she's turning around, and then it's like, Clarice. And she's like, I need a minute here because this is fucking a bang. He's gone, it's a dead body, what the fuck's up with it? Give me a fucking report on it right now. And she's like, whoa, shit. But then as she's going round the body and her gaffer, Jack Crawford, is saying, what do you see? You see that character, by the end of that little short scene, She doesn't look as emotional. She's focused on what she's doing. Really good scene, that,
it is a really good scene.
And again, another good scene at the airport where they're transferring him. And he's got the iconic mask, which is
it's Hannibal's mask.
It's Hannibal's mask. Yeah, that's what they market. Another one where he's asking, he's like, "I'll give you some more information about Buffalo Bill and find your daughter, this senator's daughter." And then he starts getting a bit naughty with her, saying, "I want to suckle your fucking tit." And then again, the cage scene when he's transferred, when he smashes those coppers in, mate. Goodbye, horses. When he does his little kooky dance, when he's flicks his dick in between his legs, and then literally dances in front of the camera.
Oh, it has to be said though, the fella playing Buffalo Bill as well. If Anthony Hopkins weren't in this film, he'd still be he's crowded out. I think in people's memory. But
I think they play that on purpose for the secondary.
They do
villain.
But Buffalo Bill's also really good.
Ted Levine. It rubs lotion on its skin.
It rubs the lotion on its skin.
That's my favourite line.
That is probably what it rubs the lotion on its skin. But they'd even set that up.
Put the lotion in the fucking lotion in the background. That voice.
Yeah, that voice.
The voice and his dog. It puts the lotion in the basket.
Yeah, it even sets that up. By the way, when they have the scene where the senator's going, "Please let Catherine go," and they go, "Oh, that's smart." That they keep talking
when she's on the TV, pleading.
They keep talking about her by name, and Clarice basically explains because if he sees her as a person, he might find it harder to.
Clever.
And they even set that up of her there begging, and he's calling her it the whole time. And that's what he's doing. He's trying to dehumanise her, so he feels better about killing her. And you're like, even that didn't need to be set up. They could have just had it rubs the lotion on its skin
as just
a weird iconic line, but they didn't do that. Even that was set up.
It rubs the lotion on
it. Funny. We now think of it as a daft scene, and it would have got a bit of a titter at the time, but then immediately followed up by that voice of "put the fucking lotion in the back."
Like wow, like
you know what I mean? There's a change here. It's changed now. And here's the thing: there's genuine menace to Buffalo Bill. There's no let up in the menace of this film.
He's obviously unhinged.
Yeah.
Levels.
I tell you what else: consistent stakes all the way through. It's made clear to the audience if she doesn't do this bit by now, realistically, they're not going to be able to find.
It's going to kill her.
It's going to kill her.
Yeah.
And well paced. I know I keep saying, but not consistently paced with stakes. To everything.
Yeah. It's almost, it gathers pace as you learn more and you get closer. And like I say, with them last 20 minutes,
we learn with Clarice. We learn with Clarice.
Yeah,
we see her figure it out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You watch her figure it out, and you're willing her to figure it out if you know what she's figuring out. But if you're watching it first time, it would be genuinely like, oh, what?
Cute as a button in it as well.
Cute as a button, absolutely delightful,
she is cute,
isn't she?
I'll give you that. She's definitely cute.
Yeah.
So that's kind of
unhinged Buffalo Bill as well. Yeah.
As well, on my notes I said he's kind of is a cross. They kind of is a cross of two killers, Ted Bundy and Ed Gein. So Ed Gein was this guy from like the 60s. He was the inspiration for the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, basically. He used to dig up dead bodies and cut skin and like make kind of clothing and household items with skin. And obviously Ted Bundy was just used to go out and smash women over the head and rape.
But he lured them in the like same way, but like the van.
Yeah,
how Buffalo Bill gets.
Well, there's
girl.
the connection. I noticed that straight away. I was like, that's what Ted Bundy used to do.
Yeah, well, it's a deliberate reference. It's very deliberate.
It is. And I think they've actually said that, you know, it was an influence.
This isn't me who said it, but I forgot the person who said it. It was on YouTube, but I forget what I'd seen. But they describe it as Hannibal shows us that monsters can be human, but Buffalo Bill also shows us that humans can be monsters as well.
I agree with that.
I agree with that. I was like, yeah, absolutely, because it's not that you agree with Hannibal or anything like that, but he's deliberately humanized, and whereas it's more the other way. There's a slow descent into sheer terror of Buffalo Bill until you get to.
Well, I think I think the difference is in between the Buffalo Bill character and the Hannibal Lecter character. It's a rationale, whereas Buffalo Bill is. It's like
there is a rationale, but it's fucking unhinged.
Exactly.
Really.
Whereas there's always this. With Lecter, it's always to his own ends. Whereas Buffalo Bill's doing it just because he wants to do it.
Yeah. There is logic to it, but it's
his logic, whereas Lecter can function in the normal world, where he can,
which is in a way kind of more terrifying. But here's the thing: your central villain is not the main villain of this. He's not the antagonist.
No, he's not. He's almost
isn't Hannibal, but he's the greater threat all the way through.
Well,
which is fascinating. Which is fascinating. Do you know what I mean?
Look at the lengths he goes to keep him locked up.
I mean, Anthony Hopkins, exactly. So Buffalo Bill is the secondary villain while being the main antagonist, which is super interesting. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. You're right. Yeah.
Anthony Hopkins' character.
I didn't see that, but
Hannibal,
you're right.
but he's not the main antagonist, but he's the greater threat out of the two.
I think maybe history and knowing Anthony Hopkins in such an iconic role has kind of blinded me to that point.
Yeah.
No, I agree. It's a very good point. I do agree.
Anthony Hopkins won Best Actor, but realistically, that character, while being omnipresent, is actually a supporting role. But just because it's central doesn't mean it's the main thrust of the plot. The main thrust of the plot is to catch the antagonist, Buffalo Bill. But I think his character is intentionally central to it. He's the greater threat. It is almost to set up for the next one. But my God, what a setup this film is, if you know what I mean.
What, a setup to Hannibal, the sequel?
Yeah, not that they were necessarily making it. Definitely going to make Hannibal, but that's what this story is, and they don't try to change that, if you know what I mean. Because
I think okay. So do you mean in terms of leaving it open ended?
Yeah, I suppose. But it's a brilliant setup for any other film that you wanted to make up.
He's out on the loop, so you could go anywhere with it.
You know what I mean? It's just really. Everything's so iconic about this film, if you know what I mean. It's so well put together that even the secondary villain has genuine threat. And
of course.
I'm struggling to find the words because it's just wow, if you know what I mean.
What, the performance? Or...
Yeah, the performances and the plot that they put together, the story that they put together, well, from its source material, presumably.
From the book by
yeah.
Thomas Harris. Yeah, I mean, you know, it has had a massive impact. You know, like you say, culture is like, it's endlessly quotable. You know, if you want to go back in time to 1986, there was a film called Manhunter, and that was directed by Michael Mann, starred Brian Cox as Hannibal Lecter, the first on-screen version of Hannibal Lecter.
Yeah, people often forget that, you know, or don't know.
Yeah, because I don't think Manhunter it's a very kind of niche film and almost cult-y following.
Yeah.
That was based on...
Not a lot of people regarded it at the time.
Well, that's what I mean. The title Manhunter, it wouldn't, instead of Red Dragon, it's...
Yeah. Because it's part of a novel series, The Silence of the Lambs being the second of...
Yeah, it is the sequel, but in Manhunter, there is a male copper in it, who does the same thing as Clarice goes, and he's trying to hunt this red dragon serial killer who's going around killing people. So Silence of the Lambs, like you say, the sequel, very similar plotted, but in terms of recognition and... I mean, Man was a really good film. I'm a big fan of it. I think it's a really... I mean, a lot of people haven't seen it. I wouldn't say it's underrated. I've just seen it undiscovered by a lot of people.
Yeah, and...
It's very 80s as well, which is, you know...
Everyone looks very 80s.
It is very 80s. It's a very... I mean, middle of the 80s, and it was very, very 80s. So yeah, Manhunt was the first appearance. And then obviously the sequel will come out like 10 years later, Hannibal. I like it.
I like Hannibal.
Mate, I could watch Hannibal. I like it,
Well,
mate.
it's a further explanation of Hannibal Lecter. That's his story.
The sequel, it follows
That's kind of what we were trying to say earlier. That's his story. This isn't his story. It's absolutely central, but this isn't his story in Silence of the Lambs.
And you needed to... That path was there to go down. You can't not go down it. Obviously they did it. Directed by Ridley Scott as well, you know, Hannibal. Julianne Moore plays Clarice now, though, so that was a bit of a jar.
I don't think she does bad in it. And do you know, there are a lot of people who are just immediately... She's another one. We spoke about, like, Batman and the Ben Affleck moment. She's another one where people just... I don't really think ever gave her a chance in this role because Jodie Foster was so iconic in it.
I think it was a poison chalice, wasn't it? Almost.
But I don't think she does
Hannibal, mate.
She's slightly different. She's slightly different, and
she doesn't have all those nuances, you know, like the vulnerability but I think if John,
I still also, it's been a number of years. Like she's much more experienced.
Yeah, true. All right. Okay. I was going to say now, is that just her character is in a different?
So it might even just be character growth. You know what I mean? And she does play it kind of differently,
and it's fine.
Yeah.
I think it's a bit of a more of a wilder ride.
Yeah, the plot's kind of ludicrous.
You know, you have actually one of the characters in the film is a guy that's had his face chewed off by pigs.
Yeah.
So,
and they do kill someone by eating their brain, but they're still alive in a...
No, it feeds some of their own brain.
Yeah. Weird film is Hannibal, really. Watch it, totally watch it.
Oh, worth a watch.
Worth a watch.
But it's a different thing than Silence of the Lambs.
Yeah. But very much builds on it. Yeah. It's not out of...
No. You know, it's not too jarring out of the canon.
No. But they made another one.
Literally, the following year, they remade Manhunter as Red Dragon, which was the original title.
The proper
and Anthony Hopkins again reprised the role. But a prequel set before Silence of the Lambs.
It is set before Silence of the Lambs. Well, because it's set...
It's during
Manhunt.
Yeah, it's how they caught him when you meet him in Silence of the Lambs, basically.
Yeah.
So spoiler, they do catch him, and that's why he's locked up at the beginning of Silence of the Lambs.
Yeah.
And again, you know, they made another film, another prequel, a prequel to the prequel, called Hannibal Rising in 2007. Dog shit. Have you seen it?
No.
Don't. But go on.
Yeah, I just felt to myself, it'll be... Don't watch. I just had a sense where I was like, no, it's not going to be very good, is it?
It's far removed in tone from the others, and it's dog shit. But again, like I was just about to say, last but not least, they made a TV series which was basically an amalgamation of all of the books. Really good.
See,
I actually own it. I
haven't seen it.
I own it. It's really
Who's the name who plays Hannibal? What's the name of the guy? I forget.
He's called Mads Mikkelsen.
Yes, that's the name. I knew he had a ludicrous... He's got a comic book character's name.
He's a really good actor. He's in loads of mad shit. He's a really good actor, actually. Yeah, when he plays Hannibal, plays him really, really well. And some English guy plays Will, who's like the copper in it.
Yeah.
But yeah, obviously, Lawrence Fishburne's in it as Jack Crawford. But it's basically just... They made 3 seasons, very hyper-stylistic. The way it's the production design... the way it's shot, really interesting. But again, like I say, it's more of an amalgamation of all the Hannibal Lecter books. I mean, Clarice Starling, they weren't allowed to use that character in it, so she never appears.
No.
But apart from that, it's literally, they do hint at Silence of the Lambs era and, you know, even Hannibal era and stuff. So yeah, again, you know, I think Anthony Hopkins could be considered as one of, if not the most iconic screen villain ever.
I'll give him that. Yeah, absolutely. He's got to be up there.
Reaching.
Yeah,
100%.
Who done? If you think iconic screen villain, well, one of the things you'd think of is Anthony Hopkins as Hannibal Lecter, wouldn't you?
And I think, again, going back to a film we've previously talked about, listeners, is Die Hard, featuring the baddie in that, Hans Gruber,
Alan Rickman. Another one for the list. Like
100%.
You know what I mean?
And I think I've said that in that show, whereas I think Alan Rickman's performance in that film probably led to Anthony Hopkins being cast again, an English actor in an American film. Well,
it was very much that time.
It was a trend. It was a trend, and he literally went, "I'm going to put my stamp on this."
Yeah,
and
he absolutely does.
And do you know why he wears white as well? He always wears white. So Anthony Hopkins...
I just assumed it was just the prison thing.
Anthony Hopkins chose, he said, can he just always wear white? And he said, because people always wear white are people like dentists that people are scared to go to, and nurses that as a reminder to like someone dressed in white is probably someone the way you're going to feel pain or be uncomfortable.
Yeah. Oh, brilliant. Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, that's
what a brilliant moment.
Yeah. See, it's interesting that when you read that, you go, he's always dressed in white. Oh, okay.
He is always dressed in white.
Yeah.
Shit.
Yeah. Because he said he would remind people of people they don't like going to visit.
Because that's absolutely true, that.
Yeah. I know, exactly. Interesting when I read that. I thought, I quite like that. Okay, so... I think it's one of the best films ever made.
I think it's probably got to be up there.
It's definitely, yeah. And I don't know whether to go, is it top 20, top 25? I don't know. But it's definitely needs to be considered in those terms.
This is an absolute fucking masterpiece,
it is
really.
A masterpiece.
We were on about this at work. I don't really think I could ever really come up with an argument to say that it's not a masterpiece. Do you know what I mean? Everything that I would have to say that is a negative about this film has either come from somebody else, so not actually my own thoughts, or it's a nitpick. And what I was describing to you earlier today, in fact, was you can nitpick things like this to death until you no longer enjoy it anymore. Not that it's not good, that you can nitpick it until you no longer enjoy it. And it's like, if you really, really dig, you can find things that don't make sense about it, but it's nitpicking. Like, you've just got to go with the logic of it. It got all of these films, all mystery films have points where it's a leap in logic that you've just got to go with, but that's nitpicking.
Yeah, I agree. I think so. Yeah, and why would you want to ruin it for yourself?
Yeah, just don't nitpick things to death. And I don't think there's a lot to pick on this film with, and so leave it alone. Don't nitpick it to death. You know what I mean? Does it always make total sense that she leaps to the conclusion that the yourself thing is leading her to another clue?
Yeah.
No, but she did make the leap of logic, because we're here now having this scene. So just don't pick it apart.
Yeah, don't.
You know, and does it always get like she realises something's an anagram, even though she can't possibly know that that's how he spelled that name?
Yeah, Lewis.
Yeah, Lewis Friend being an anagram
for Louis.
But they spell it like Louis. But how could she? And she knows it. But how could you possibly know it? But see, there you go. You're digging yourself into a rabbit hole where you're just like, oh well, I'm nitpicking it to death, and now it's like, oh, I don't want to.
Stop.
I don't want to.
No. And why would you want to? Again, it is for me one of the best films ever made. I think it was a film that come out at a particular time, and it was the right type of film for that time, and again, influenced a lot of these procedural cop serial killer like kind of things.
Mate, it influenced the tone of a lot of those. Yeah. It's an iconic film. Even nowadays, even if a film is shot a certain way, that someone might say it's a bit like Silence of the Lambs.
Referenced, so
yeah.
Praise.
So, yeah.
Praise.
High
indeed.
praise.
High praise. Yeah.
So yeah. What would you give it then? If you had to...
Are you asking me?
I am asking you. I'm asking you the fateful question, the needed question, the one that they're all here for. What will they give it? What will they give it?
My verdict on this film is, it's a straight up masterpiece. It deserves its recognition. It's definitely one of the best films ever made. And the performances are fantastic across the board. It's well directed, the script is tight, 2 hours, and like you say, these seeds and payoffs, and which we like. I'm giving it 9 out of 10. Bang. And it deserves it.
Yeah,
Such a great film. It's a great film, guys. And again, these people out there, if you haven't watched it, please, guys, go out there and seek it out and enjoy it. So, Mark, you know mine. What's yours?
I totally agree with the 9 out of 10.
So you should.
Totally agree. It deserves it. Anything else, it's like
nitpicking.
It's nitpicking. Anything else, like if I thought it was possible to give anything an absolute perfect score, a 10 out of 10, I think probably this film would probably deserve it. I don't think anything can realistically hit 10 out of 10.
Okay.
You know what I mean? You just did everything right.
I see the logic there.
But it deserves its 9. An 8 seems like an absolute slap to it.
Yeah, travesty.
How dare you? How dare you give it?
You don't give it a 9? Fuck off.
Yeah, but it's a 9. It is a 9.
But we did.
Yeah,
it deserves it. Such a great film.
Yeah, brilliant.
I think it's one of them films that I wouldn't watch it all the time, but maybe on the regs.
Yeah.
I think you find, for me, I watched it watching this show, and I was like, oh, I noticed things that I didn't notice before. So that's a really good thing. So yeah, there's our verdict, guys. Just want to say thanks for joining us again on another show.
As always,
love the support. Get us on the socials, get in contact with us. You know the score. So,
do you agree? Is it a masterpiece?
Is it? Do you get in touch? Let us know.
Yeah.
Because it is.
Yeah.
Let's just put that in your head. It is. But no, again, get in contact. Let us know what you think. So, goodbye from me.
And me.
Take care.
Bye.
Speak to you soon.
Bye.
Hey, welcome back, guys, to another episode of The Vault of Cult with your host, Chris.
Mark, you alright?
I'm alright, you alright?
I'm pretty alright.
I hope the listeners are alright. So, guys, thanks for joining us on another episode. Loving the support, you're all listening, really appreciate that. We're international.
Yeah, we are international.
International?
And it has to be a listener that we don't know. This has been big for us, guys. We don't know it because where were these places?
So
Chris?
we had listeners. Well, we had at least one listener in Mexico City.
I don't know any fucker in Mexico City, do you?
None of them. And we had a listener in Poland.
I don't know any bugger in Poland.
Do you know what's funny? The listener that we had in Poland from West Pomerania.
Yeah, West Pomerania.
Dog?
Yeah,
the dog.
Oddly, it's perhaps where those dogs were originally from.
Also, we've had engagement as well via email from a listener.
I know.
Andrew.
Andrew.
If you're listening, Andrew.
Hiya, Andrew.
Hello.
Hiya. Thanks for you're our first email.
No, second. Jack was our first one.
Oh yeah.
Jack
Young Jack.
Us. Young Jack. Oh,
hiya,
I hope you're doing all right, Jack. I hope you're still listening to the show. Miss you. Right, guys, so thanks for joining us on another episode. This week's episode, we are partaking in the beverage for the show.
Yeah, well, there is a bit of a story behind this because
please tell me, Mark.
My friend Aoife has sort of provided our beverage for the show because she gave me very good suggestions and I just didn't plan enough to actually buy these things.
This is a common theme this
month, so I just went to the shop imagining those things would be there and they weren't there.
I knew this was happening. This is what I fucking knew.
They weren't there at all.
So today's beverage of the show is brought to us by Aoife. And what's Aoife's surname?
Aoife McLeod.
What?
Aoife McLeod.
Of the Clan McLeod?
Yes, of the Clan McLeod, literally.
She has Christopher Lambert / the Highlander part of her lineage.
Yes, exactly.
Mark, you do know To Kill Her, you've got to cut her head off, don't you?
I'm sure she'll be fucking delighted that we're even thinking.
Just saying.
But yeah, she is a man immortal as well.
So, thanks Aoife for picking the beverage for the show. Yeah, I'm only joking. I hope you're doing alright. So, our beverage for the show this week is by Buxton Brewer. As you know, guys, it's on the Instagram. We've already atted them.
Yeah.
And this beer is a modern British hop IPA, and it's called Brit Hop.
Yeah, and basically that's come about because Aoife said buy any of the Buxton ones, they'll be okay.
That'll fine.
So
we're having that.
So thanks for your sort of rec.
And then Mark decided to pick up this. It's called Faith in Future's DDH IPA, northern by the.
It's Northern Monk.
Northern Monk, the brewery Northern Monk. Okay, both okay, both quite nice.
Yeah, both quite nice.
Quite pleasant.
Yeah, I would have loved to have actually. We'll give you a proper shout out at some point. Yeah, we'll actually buy things.
Guys. So, Mark, this week's episode we will be discussing the film.
The Silence of the Lambs.
Wow.
It is The Silence of the Lambs.
The Silence. Like it is the Batman.
It is, okay. Yeah, it is The Silence of the Lambs. 1991.
It did come out in 1991.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Let's get on with the show.
Let's do it.